And you're absolutely right, by the way, Rafa, that comedy can be exceptionally competitive. Who gets the bigger laugh? Who gets the end of the line? But something that beautiful that happened that I think is by virtue of, because it all goes back to the text, what Brian and Ed provided us with are enough key moments for each of us that it was just as gratifying to have the end high note funny as it was to tee up the ball so that someone else could have it. Because you realize that his big, amazing, funny moment really couldn't happen unless I bring it up. And my big, huge, funny moment couldn't happen unless you're feeling his pain. You know?
É a sua chance de mostrar pra todo mundo que se acha melhor. Quem é que manda mesmo?
Hi guys, how are you?
Hi, Rafa. Really good.
Congratulations on the Sticky. It's such a fun and funny show. I was really surprised with the sense of humor, with the way that the dark comedy is portrayed here in the show. And both of you are really great. Brian and Ed, you're welcome. Brian and Ed got this shocking heist and took it to the next level in this dark comedy. And for you too, what was the biggest wow moment when you were reading the script?
Oh, that's a great question. Yes, you're right. Look, they took an absurd story from the headlines and they added a backdrop and a fiction around it that I think just elevates it and makes it so compelling. I think for me, it's a kind of a cumulative wow of where my character begins and who we think he is versus where he ends and what we see him to really be. That was kind of a big wow for me. Like, wow, this guy, Mike, he's got some problems.
I think for me, the wow moment is like the wow fact, I would say, is the fact that you don't have a lead and supporting cast. You know, it's really a trio, and each member of the trio has his own arc and his own developed story and very colorful. And so I was like, oh, okay, I will not just play my part.
Right.
You know, I have my whole arc in the 6th episode. Chris got his own and Margot got his own too.
That is so true. And one thing that I really enjoyed about this Tiki is that there's the perfect comedic timing in the show. And this job is not only for the writers, this also rests a lot on the actors' lab. And I do think you guys did an amazing job on screen. So how did you find that comedic timing and that balance between what's on the page and how you're going to work that on screen?
It's a great question, actually, a very good question.
Well, the minute I met Chris, I saw a theater actor, which I am. So, and I know we did a lot of character in many different tone and different style, and I knew how to play with that guy.
It was instant, We and our understanding and sense of rhythm and timing. It was just I remember the first scene we did together in the car. There was no rehearsal. When we did our first take, it was it was.
I understand his music. He understand mine. And the minute we began to play, I was like, okay, I can play anything with that guy.
We also had Brian and Ed, who, as you said, they gave us this beautiful script, a beautiful template, but they were also very collaborative. So if something was a moment of inspiration that wasn't necessarily there or even in the subtext, they would allow us to explore, which let us feel very free. And I found a lot of physical comedy beats that worked for the character because of the topography, because of the weather, because of a lot of different things. And it's fun for me to explore those things because as an actor, you know, my tools are really, you know, my body and my voice. So I try to use those as best I can and to really infuse the role with as much of my ability as I can.
And our both character are so good together because it's really, I don't know, it's in French we say white clown, red clown.
Yes.
You know, it's the bad guy with the more goofy, naive one. So it's so magical together.
Really is. We had so much fun working together.
I can totally see that. And we can totally feel that when we are watching the show. And I love that you talk about the way you perform comedy with your body, Chris, because I felt for you watching that show. You stumble a lot in the ice, and I can see that. And you're like, your character is always frustrated because he's always trying to fix something, but like he can't handle the snow that much. And it's so good to watch that because it's kind of like he's the bad guy, he's that bad guy, and if he's gonna kill somebody if he has to, but he's a little bit clumsy as well, and that
Yes.
works so on screen.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, it's just it takes the edge off just a bit, doesn't it? Right? He's bad. He's slick. No, he's also an idiot, and that really helps. So yeah.
It does. It does a lot. And I love that you guys were saying that this is a trio thing. The show is about these three characters, and all of them have their moment, and their arcs are completely full from the first episode to the last one. And Margot is amazing in the show, Margot Martindale, and it's amazing that she's always. It feels like she has been in each and every movie that we have loved since the 90s and the 80s, right?
It's so
Because
true. Yeah. What a prolific career she's had. What marvelous, memorable, powerful characters she's played. And it's what you said and what Guillaume said. The show sings when the three of us are together. Those three energies that are so different and yet so perfectly attuned, it's really special.
extending what you said, I wanted to know about the dynamic, the way that you guys build the dynamic, because you three are very different on screen, and your characters, they move very differently on screen. Margot is very intense. She's overacting all the time. Mike is a lot more like, he's like a little like contented, but at the same time he's very intense. And your character is like, he's very naive and he's very gentle. He's kind of like, he's a bad guy, but like you feel for him because you know where he's coming from. So tell me about the dynamic, how you managed to build that on screen.
I think it's the way that we are so different. You said it well. Mike is like a content guy, but he can explode at any moment.
Yep.
Ruth is angry, 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 and Remy is just so fragile and not sad, but I don't know, emotively. Help me there.
No, I think you're right. He has he's deep is what it is.
Yeah.
His well runs deep. I mean, look, if this was the Wizard of Oz, a broken version of the Wizard of Oz, you've got the heart, Margot's the brains, and I'm the brawn. You know what I mean? There's something about that, and he's absolutely right. Look, you take any of the elements out, and it just doesn't quite work. And yet, with all three together, it kind of happens.
It just fit.
Yeah.
We complete each other very, very well.
That's right.
That's so true, and I love the connection with Wizard of Oz. That was like, I was not expecting that connection, and that was such a deep connection, Chris. That was such a deep connection.
It's really true, and I think that the other thing that really comes into play between the three of us as actors is a tremendous level of self-respect and trust, and respect for each other. You know, I know that Guillaume is going to show up on set with 100 ideas beyond what's on the script. He's going to be prepared so much so that not only does he know his lines, but everybody else's lines as well. And I'm doing the same work, and Margot does the same work. So we don't worry. When we're working, 13, 14 hours a day, and we show up first thing in the morning, and it's a complicated, long scene, we're not worried. We're focused. And we know that if something isn't working, one of us is going to have an idea that makes it work.
Yeah.
And we trust that the best idea will be the one that works, and it doesn't matter who comes up with it, as long as it pushes the scene forward.
And I come back to that, but the fact that we three of us have a big stage background.
All of us worked on stage in the beginning.
It's
that's
like,
right.
okay, it's rehearse and play.
Yeah.
So let's do it.
Yeah, we're not afraid to get our hands dirty.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That is so beautiful because we don't always see that on screen between actors, especially with comedy. Because in comedy, there's always that competition. Who is the funniest? Who's going to have the last laugh? So to hear that.
We were not there to play our own thing.
You're right
we
about
are there
that.
to play together.
Well, and there was something really beautiful, and it happened, I think, with all three of us. And you're absolutely right, by the way, Rafa, that comedy can be exceptionally competitive. Who gets the bigger laugh?
Yeah.
Who gets the end of the line? But something that beautiful that happened that I think is by virtue of, because it all goes back to the text, what Brian and Ed provided us with are enough key moments for each of us that it was just as gratifying to have the end high note funny as it was to tee up the ball so that someone else could have it. Because you realize that his big, amazing, funny moment really couldn't happen unless I bring it up.
Yeah.
And my big, huge, funny moment couldn't happen unless you're feeling his pain. You know, it's this.
And again, it's theater background, because when you play on stage, you know that at this moment, he got to have the laugh.
That's it.
It's not your moment.
Right.
It's his.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's all minors and major thing.
That's exactly right. Yeah, harmony.
And this is what makes the comedy so good. And I wanted to know, as you guys had this beautiful dynamic on screen, was there a lot of improvisation during the scenes as you guys had that collaborative spaces?
So I want to pay him a compliment, first of all. So the answer to that, I would say, is there was a healthy amount of improvisation. We followed the text, and even the writers would sometimes say, let's try something different. Maybe, throw the text away a little bit and come up with something of your own, in certain moments. But I have to say, you have to understand, so improvisation in general, it's not an easy skill, and it's something that requires a great deal of trust. It requires a pretty fast-moving mind.
Yeah.
It requires a feeling of, a little bit of an uncomfortable feeling of, you might really fail in the improvisation.
Yeah.
Now try doing that in a language that's not your first language, okay? And on your first job in a language that's not your first language, because Guillaume is a gifted, talented, prolific, very, very successful French language actor. But it's his first time doing a big US project in English. And he's improvising, and not only is he keeping up with us, but he's throwing out ideas that are taking the improvisation to the next level. He's honestly one of the most gifted actors I've ever worked with. He's also an incredibly generous guy. Look, you can't plan for these things. He could have been an awful guy, and we could have had no chemistry, but we have to do our jobs as professionals and hopefully still end up with a good product. But I love this guy.
And he is an improv god. His brain is so fast. So my part of improvisation was more reaction or between takes. Sometimes the showrunner is, okay, Guillaume, when Chris go that way, say that, or okay, thank you, okay.
Yeah, so good, man.
So yeah, the text was already very, very good.
Absolutely.
So the improv was kind of,
Extra.
okay, let's upgrade that, or a
as
little bit more salt on that one.
Or an alternate, we'll
Yeah,
have it in
exactly.
the editing room. We know this works. Maybe we need an alternate in case the tone of the scene needs to change. Yeah.
I love what you said, because that takes me to my last question. Because to me, the sticky is a mix between, it's when Three Stooges meet Ocean's 11. And I know you.
I love it. That's so good, Rafa. Just right.
And that was like a note to you, because you were in Three Stooges, and obviously I wouldn't forget.
I'll take it.
So if you guys had to pitch the show to the audience to convince them to watch it with just one sentence, what would it be?
For me, it's very Coen brother-ish series. It's Fargo meets Big Lebowski. It's 6 30-minute of pure entertainment, drama, comedy, action, left field, humor, never seen before.
That's good. I would say three desperate people who should never be together come together to pull off a ridiculous heist that should never be pulled off. That's what I would say.
December 6th.
Boom.
Boom! Yeah. And there you have it, guys. Thank you so much. I could just be here listening to both of you all day long. What an amazing opportunity.
Rafa, we wish you were here. What a great
interview.
Yeah, good energy, good enthusiasm, such smart and articulate questions, and thanks for taking the time to really dive into our show.
Yeah.
This was lovely.
It was a blast talking to you.
Yeah, really refreshing.
Well, thank you so much. I feel so happy to hear that. It was such a huge pleasure. I would love to be here sitting right next to you, talking more, because I just love what you guys were talking about. I love learning more about your craft, and I just love this ticket. What a fantastic show. And I do feel we have a Coen vibe to it. I love that, what you said. I just loved it, and I can't wait for the audiences to watch it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
so
Have a
much.
nice day.
Thanks for your time.
Yeah.
Abre a porta, Mike. Eu tô congelando aqui fora. Eu gosto de um roubo